Yeah. I'd like to introduce Dean, who came from
Andrew.
which is
South. Or south. I don't know, I'm totally disoriented in the building down here in the basement, but anyway. Yeah, south of here. So, are we ready?
all you.
On you.
Alright, I'm here to tell you about hardware hacking, and totally encourage you to open up stuff and tear it apart, because if you own it, you need to prove that by opening it up and messing with it. And so, let's get started just by, I'll give you a little bit of my personal history. I grew up kind of middle class, lower middle class, didn't have a lot, and I entertained myself by tearing stuff apart. And I got so into it that I would go knocking door to door, asking people if they had any spare electronics that were junk that I could tear apart. I had my bedroom full of junk, and drove my mom crazy, and God bless her soul, she was really cool about supporting me and just letting me do all that stuff and trusted that I wasn't going to electrocute myself. I even talked her into driving me to a place once to get a big console TV and bring it home, load the trunk. I don't know how we did it, but anyway. And I never did electrocute myself because I'm here to prove it. So, I built a crystal radio when I was 13. That's kind of what started it all. And I turned that thing on and it didn't work. But I didn't care because I built it and I was really happy about that, and it encouraged me to just, you know what, I want to know why it didn't work. And I never did get the damn thing to work, but that doesn't really matter. The thing was is it sparked me to keep going and trying more new things. And then I discovered Radio Shack and all the parts and the things that were in there, and that was like heaven. And I was, begging my parents all the time, buying me this project kit and that. And so I learned a lot of stuff from doing that. And after a time, I got to be a teenager, and I kind of lost it for a while, just into the party mode, all that. And for many years, I didn't really do anything with electronics or hacking or any of that. And about 4 years ago, everything changed. A whole series of events happened in my life that just made me want to get back at the bench. Unemployment being one of them. I had plenty of spare time in my hands. I was getting unemployment, looking for work, but I didn't know what to do. So I started messing with things. This is one of them. This thing ended up being a robot that I took to Maker Faire and won an award for it. And it was just because I was bored, and I opened it up and said, what can I do with this thing? And it's all about just going out and finding electronics and repurpose them. Go ahead and open the thing up, make yourself a little 5-volt tester, start poking around in there with 5 volts and see what happens. You're not really going to hurt anything. Most circuits are protected. You'll probably find like, hey, that drives a motor. That's what I did with that thing. And I stuck an Arduino in it, and I made it drive around. I did a little bit of C programming. You can get into doing this really easy. It doesn't take too much. You just need to buy a few tools like some soldering iron and learn to solder. That's the first thing you need to do. And rip stuff apart and pull out your own components from that. You don't have to go buy them. You can find things like transistors. These things are basically have 3 terminals on them. They act like a switch. You energize one, the other 2 make continuity. There's capacitors. These things are in a circuit to provide you with the ability to hold a charge, and then they can discharge. They can do all kinds of wonderful things. Resistors limit current flow. They're all over the place. Ohm's law is a wonderful thing to learn. Look into that. Diodes are really cool. They're a one-way valve. They're what give us all the stuff from the wall current that's doing this AC thing into nice, wonderful DC current. And if you read a little bit about those, you can learn how to do that as well. How am I doing on time? 2 minutes. Okay. Where am I? I'm right here. Okay. On my website, www.dinofab.com, there's some videos posted. One of them is a Roomba robot teardown. A couple of years ago, I got into messing around with these Roombas. These things are awesome. They're like free robot parts, practically. You can find them on eBay for next to nothing. They have really cool motors that actually have encoders built into them. There's IR sensors on board in those things. You can tap into the motherboard, and I put the thing out there, and lo and behold, I get an email from this guy that used to work for iRobot, and he said, you know what, if you go here, you can find out how to get into that processor. It's a Motorola, blah, blah, blah. You need to buy a programmer, and you can actually write your own code to put in that processor and that motherboard and use it just like it is. So if you put the stuff out online, you'll get feedback that'll help you out. I do that all the time. I get people critiquing my stuff. Sometimes I get slammed, but I just take it in stride and go, hey, I just learned something. I left out something. I left out a Zener diode. I could have fried this MOSFET, but I learned how to do that. The most recent little gizmo I made for the 555 contest is this wacko little thing. And it's got little photoelectric cells on it. There was no... His spinal cord's really strong. There was no planning in this. It was just like, okay, I know what 555s do. There's astable and monostable circuits. and I'm just gonna sit at the bench and mess with this until I get something I like. And I did that a couple weekends ago. That's one of the entries in my 5x5 contest. Another one is a fuel injector tester that I made that actually got out there, and a guy emailed me and said, hey, can you build me one of those? I could use it in my shop. I made another one. I sold it to him last week for 80 bucks. I didn't plan on doing any of that. It just kind of happened. So what I'm doing is convert it. I'm encouraging you to take your stuff apart. If something breaks, go ahead and take it apart. If you mess it up worse, it doesn't matter because it was already broken.